Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The head of Russia's Wagner mercenary group has vowed to transfer control of the Ukrainian city of Bakhmut to the Russian army by the 1st of June. Wagner founder Yevgeny Prigozhin claimed to have captured Bakhmut, but Kyiv says it still controls parts of the city. Ukraine also says its troops are still advancing on the outskirts, but Mr. Prigozhin says his troops will start handing over the city to the Russian army on Thursday.
It looks like Bakhmut is still contested. I mean, the Russians are in a dominating position on the ground within the city itself, and have pushed the Ukrainians very far west. The Ukrainians look like they're also now pressing on the northern and southern flanks. But ultimately speaking, you need to see the battle in a wider picture, that the Russians have pushed everything they had at it since August, and they've only just sort of captured the town. But equally, when you look at the imagery, I mean, there's nothing left of the town. It's a very insignificant point on the broader map. And actually what's really been, it's all been about is to try and fix each fort so that they can't fight in other places.
The head of the World Health Organization has urged countries to carry out the reforms needed to prepare for the next pandemic and honour a previous commitment to boost financing for the UN Health Agency. Speaking to the WHO's annual Health Assembly, weeks after ending the global emergency status for the COVID-19 pandemic, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said it was time to advance negotiations on preventing the next one.
When the next pandemic comes knocking, and it will, we must be ready to answer decisively, collectively, and equitably.
Eyewitness video shows emergency officials taking care of collapsed fans on the pitch at the soccer stadium in El Salvador. At least 12 people died and an unspecified number were injured in a stampede at the stadium in the capital city. Alianza FC and Club Deportivo FAS were playing the second leg of their playoff quarter-final game when the match was suspended after the stampede broke out in the general section of the bench area. A Belarusian opposition activist arrested after his Ryanair flight was forced to land in the capital Minsk has been pardoned, that's according to state media. Roman Protasevich was hauled off his flight and arrested on charges of inciting unrest in May 2021. Earlier this month, he was sentenced to 8 years in prison. It is not immediately clear what the pardon means for his jail sentence, which state media previously reported would be served in a penal colony. Officials say at least 20 children have died in a fire in the central Guyanese mining town of Madea. The fire broke out just after midnight on Monday, engulfing a secondary school dormitory and trapping students. The government says emergency services are struggling to contain the fire because of bad weather conditions. Several more people have been injured and transferred to hospital. Facebook's owner Meta has been fined €1.2 billion for mishandling people's data when transferring it between Europe and the United States. Issued by Ireland's Data Protection Commission, it is the largest fine imposed under the EU's General Data Protection Regulation Privacy Law. GDPR sets out rules companies must follow to transfer user data outside of the EU. Meta says it will appeal against the unjustified and unnecessary ruling. And a life-size Lego Ferrari car has been unveiled in Denmark. Built in the Czech Republic with the help of Ferrari designers, the model car took 339 days to complete and used 383,610 Lego bricks. That's according to Legoland Billund.
2, 1, værsgo!
Ferrari wheels and a steering wheel were the only original components used for the 1.34-ton life-size model. Visitors posed for photos and marvelled at the Lego car's working lights and distinctive design.
It's absolutely incredible. I mean, obviously the real car is incredibly impressive and it has an amazing sculpture, but to actually manage to replicate those sculptural forms in Lego bricks is really impressive.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.